Okay. So T Vance said, why silver now? Is it because of Bitcoin price action or because of the technical breakout of the downtrend?
It's definitely a little bit of both. So silver, I mean, silver just obviously following the technical breakout has been looking strong, but we have seen this happen where we see a technical breakout and then we see some strength. We see a pop following that technical breakout, but then you see it break down once again. So silver is kind of almost a hedge in a sense, especially in the call portfolio. In the case, so like the reason I structured my calls today the way I did is because Riot honestly look from a technical perspective like they do want to pull back more. Now that they actually have unfortunately they've broken short-term support. They're back into kind of those symmetrical triangles that they've been in, and just looking at the technicals, like Mara does look like it could just be setting a higher low on the overall uptrend right now, and hopefully that does happen. But again, if Bitcoin does pull back, because even Bitcoin's looking a little diced, Bitcoin like it also be setting a higher low similar tomorrow, but it also could be on its way down to like the overall line of support, which would be around 58.5. So tough read, and I'm just trying to. At this point, I'm just cutting my losses almost. Not really cutting my losses, but except I do medium term, but it's a tough read right now, and I don't know what's going to go down. But again, the fundamentals are strong, so if we do, it is just going to be a factor of just kind of people getting scared out of their positions right now.
Okay, so you're buffering a little bit. Yeah, you're buffering a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, I am? Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can fix that. All right, we're on the go. Okay, my bad. Is it getting better?
That's better.
Okay, sweet.
Okay, so when do we start talking puts and sector rotations?
If there's one thing I've learned from when we were peaking in mid-February, it's that I'm not going to short a market every time. And like, that's not to say that you guys should not do puts. Maybe I'll pick up a few puts, but again, every time I've done really well and then end up losing my money, which has led me into a spiral of ultimately losing more money, is when I've tried to short. And even this last time, like after we made a whole lot of money, like in mid-February, and then the market looked a little dicey and I thought things were going to pull back and I took out puts. Granted, if I took out the right puts, like say an ARK or Tesla or some of the higher risk sectors that were really appreciating value, those would have done well. So I guess selective puts in that scenario would have worked, but it's more just the principle, like even in the past, like over the past few years, the initial catalyst to me starting to lose money was when I tried to short. So I don't know if I'll be shorting it, more like, unless the entire market tanks, then that's probably a sign that we will see like an entire like cyclical rotation from a bull market to an overall like kind of bearish trend. But it's more likely that once crypto starts to pull back, I'll just try to look for sectors that are appreciating value and take out calls on those as opposed to crypto calls. But I don't know if I'm gonna. I just, again, out of principle, although it could be very wise because crypto, once it starts to correct, will likely correct pretty significantly. But again, just out of principle, I'm probably not personally going to be taking out many puts.
Okay, I'll go ahead and let Chandy ask some questions.
Well, I had a direct question on what you just said. With 40% of the adults as vaccinated right now, with the next cycle, would you be thinking like a consumer discretionary, more like a neo almost? Not even, because I know EV or neos like in all around like houses, clothes, cars. But like I'm
really, I didn't know that. I didn't even know that about Neo.
They make houses, they make clothes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're a whole consumer discretionary company. They have a whole idea They have a whole like lifestyle to this brand. This is like
That
this is
actually makes
why
Neo way more appealing to me. I did not know that.
yeah, this has always been like something from day one that I've appreciated about Neo is that not only are they building a brand and like great numbers and great things, but they're building an idea, they're building a company, they're building
Yep.
a real foundation. And I could probably send you like some of the Neo photos. I might have sent some in the chat one time, but I know
Yeah, it's
I know
like,
there's
man,
a
that's again that
website.
obviously the more you diversify in that sense, the more you can scale as a company. Like similar to Tesla, how Tesla isn't really like a car company; they're an energy company.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, like on their balance sheet, they're almost like a Bitcoin reserve with the way they're printing on Bitcoin. But yeah, no, that does make me like Neo a lot more. I don't know. I haven't watched Neo in a long time, or I haven't taken a look at it in a long time, but it's
Yeah.
crazy how much Neo has even. Yeah, Neo's corrected a pretty significant amount.
Yeah, once it hit my top of my Fibonacci fan, I don't know what it was, like the 68 or something. It literally like it was just profits, and then after that it was just downhill, and then the chips.
Yeah, yeah. Neo just went like shit. I remember playing Neo in like January or February of last year, and the reason I was always so against Neo again, and you could say that Riot and Mara did the exact same thing, but those are very fundamentally different companies with much smaller market caps. Neo just exploded in terms of both share price and market cap so fast. I was like, this looks super bubbly. But again, going forward, again, if they do branch out into kind of those different sectors of literally everything, like you said, clothing, apparel, housing, it does validate that price action a little more, but it still looks pretty sketchy to me.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge cult following, but it's not entirely Neo that I was completely talking about, but like it was more of like the sense that in the past stimulus check they saw that most of it was spent on not the market but more of like the airlines and more of like consumer like things, you know.
So that's the big rotation that's happening right now, is that that's what I've been thinking from like a very, very base level fundamental perspective, is that as things start to open up, people are going to start going outside more. And the reason the markets were so hot over the past year is because everyone was stuck. No one had anything to do. You don't really have anything to spend your money on. And after so much time just spending money on Amazon, you get sick of material goods. And you ultimately want to have your money make you money. That's like human nature, is to kind of, gamble. Most of the retail investors who got into the market this year were just straight up gambling for the most part. There was a lot of learning and education involved with that, which is great, financial literacy. But I think that is the primary reason that the markets did so well. Is just people had money flowing in, nothing to do with that money. The most exciting and lucrative thing to potentially do with that money is dump it in the markets. But now that the economy is beginning to reopen, everything's opening back up, people are getting outside, people do have places to spend their money. You want to go buy drinks, or you want to go out to grab a bite, it becomes less appealing, especially if the market is starting to slow down, to dump your money into the markets as opposed to just spending your money elsewhere. So that is like the primary fundamental argument I have for why we could see a slowdown in the markets. And then going off that, if the markets do start to turn down, then that kind of creates that double-edged sword, like a double whammy effect for why we could definitely see a pullback in the markets if people, especially new investors, start realizing that, oh, like this is you can't just make money in the markets anymore, I'm losing money, and that kind of snowballs into what would be a pullback into greater markets, especially after the crazy run we've had. Again, there's still so much capital out there, still so much money being printed, but retail is realistically driving so much of this. So if we lose a lot of that retail interest, then I think that's that's the primary thing that could lead to any significant amount of downside.
Yeah, because one thing I want everyone to realize is that when money is in the market, it's not always going to stay in the market. And
yeah, 100%.
Sometimes it's going to flow to NFT. Sometimes it's going to flow to crypto. Sometimes it's going to flow to what is big right now. So if stocks aren't doing well, if the SPY isn't doing well, check out Bitcoin, check out Ethereum, check out what other spaces are doing, and see if that's where people are putting their money, and see if maybe you should hold off for a little bit till the money's back and flowing. But yeah, that was a great answer. I'll let Pigeons get the next one. My bad about not asking.
So
No, I think it's important to establish that, because I have been thinking about that, and I don't think I've really mentioned that. But that's a very important, just again, base layer fundamental that everyone should keep in mind.
Thank you.
Okay, so T Vance asked, why Coinbase? Are you becoming more bullish watching its price action?
Coinbase, I feel like at this point is kind of just a safe play that will gradually appreciate. We're not going to see those crazy. With Coinbase, there's no way that you could see any sort of short to medium term like 2x, 3x. But I think it can appreciate by 10, 15, 20% over the course of the next month or so. And at this point, seeing that everything realistically is, it does look to me like everything's slowing down, like volume's just going down. Investor sentiment is kind of dropping, but Bitcoin does still look like it wants to rip. It's just, again, the volume is just decreasing, and it still can rip. But granted, my general, I'm not hyper bullish anymore. I remain bullish, but I'm not hyper bullish. And I feel Coinbase is a good play, like a somewhat safe yet potentially slightly lucrative play based on my sentiment. So yeah, let's do it for the culture. And again, every day I hear more and more about Coinbase. So even though because we're so involved with the space, it's very obvious to us that pretty much everyone's heard of it. I still think there's a lot of people who haven't heard of Coinbase. So I think that will kind of word of mouth will play its part over the coming weeks.
Yeah, I was listening to the Animal Spirits podcast with Zach Prince this morning, the founder and CEO of BlockFi.
Yep.
And they were talking about how this whole Coinbase IPO caught everyone by storm, and how, or most of the bigger banks, because they didn't realize how great their numbers were. Most people in the market, matter of fact. And so they were talking about how it's ironic that the biggest company in crypto is the middleman, and how just all these cool things. And I'll send that into the chat. So I just thought it was a really cool thing to hear.
Yeah, it's kind of it's the classic gold miner reference or analogy. It's like, don't mind the gold, sell the shovels, sell the pickaxes,
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what Coinbase is they are so profitable. If you look at, again, like we kind of covered the year over year, or just the first quarter of 2021 completely dwarfed their revenue from all of 2020, which is insane. So it just shows the scale and how lucrative that company is, because again, every single transaction that's made, they profit from that. So no matter which way crypto goes, even if the crypto market is going down, in a crash, they'd still be they'd be printing, because they still make off every sale and every buy.
That quote you said was great. Don't sell the gold, sell the pickaxes. I love it.
Yeah. Classic.
That's great.
So what's your thoughts and price targets for Zekin after this pullback?
So Zekin looks super, the fact that Zekin's in the green right now really makes me like Zekin. The volume is terrible on Zekin right now. I guess it's been worse, but Zekin right now, if it did just set a higher low, and it is on its way back to the races. What's Zekin's market cap right now? So Zekin has a market cap, at least according to TradingView, I don't know if that's right, of $130 million. And we've seen it just since mid-February when Zekin started that rally. We've seen it. We've seen volume, and we know for a fact that Zekin can absolutely rip in a very short period of time. So Zekin, if any of you just took a look at the newsletter I sent out, I mentioned this chart in there. I featured this chart in there, I should say. The line of resistance on the overall uptrend, and then the previous line of support prior to Zekin breaking down into the downtrend that it's been in since April 5th. Those perfectly coincide exactly at the end of the month, and that would take us to exactly $16.75 Zekin. So that is again, if the cryptocurrency sector does start pulling back, that price target becomes a lot more unlikely. But right now, Zeke, and like again from a technical perspective, if it is just printing a higher low on that overall uptrend, and we do continue to rally, I think $17 is potentially on the horizon.
Okay, so Mohi asked, what are your thoughts on altcoins? Do you think there's more upside?
I definitely think there's more upside in not, I shouldn't say most altcoins, obviously specific altcoins, because altcoins, given that their market cap is so much smaller, and that's what, like, altcoins are the epitome of shiny objects, and we have a lot of shiny object chasers in this market. If you pick the right altcoin, like, altcoins are a straight up gamble for the most part, unless you're basing them off technicals. Like right now, a lot of the trades in altcoins are starting to look less appealing to me short term than Bitcoin, because they're getting so close to a lot of like lines of resistance. They all look very similar on the charts. So hopefully, although I'm heavily invested in altcoins, I do kind of hope that they start to the cycle, the alt Bitcoin cycle starts to favor Bitcoin again. As far as long-term potential, if any of you can remember or haven't watched, I guess, what was it called? I think it's titled "Which Will 10x First, Bitcoin or Ethereum?" That's like a very, very basic, kind of my basic fundamental ideas around why Ethereum will like 10x before Bitcoin, because altcoins are more of like, you could say DeFi or like financial system 2.0, next layer, like internet 2.0, but financial system 2.0 with DeFi and everything, lending and whatnot. But I do think Bitcoin will forever maintain the largest market cap, just because it's gold. It's just an absolutely scarce asset, which none of the other coins really are. But in terms of potential upside, if you pick the right ones, for sure, like no doubt.
Okay, so someone asked, what is your advice for handling losses? I have been investing for 5+ years and know how to handle swings, but Manny and the fam seem to be getting emotional and unsure.
Yeah, I mean, losses are never going to be easy, but like obviously the more you experience, like anything else in life, the more you're faced with that adversity, the better you get at handling it. It builds resilience, it builds character, and it's hard. Like even like this week has been tough from like a psychological perspective, obviously, because we've been, well, especially for me, because it's kind of about like I feel it's my responsibility to you guys to make the right decisions, and it sucks.
Oh, not at all.
Like obviously
not at all.
Again, well, yeah, I know
responsibility.
you guys ultimately a lot of times make better decisions than me, but just kind of having this community, I do feel that subconscious sense of responsibility. So I do deal with that on top of the losses. Like I lost so much money this week, and I know a lot of you did as well, but in terms of dealing with it in kind of an applicable way, I mean, exercise, get outside, do things that make you happy, because ultimately trading, although it is many of our passions and we love to trade, like that's what this community is built around, and investing and whatnot. So it sucks when kind of the thing you take a lot of pride in is punching you in the face. But I'm sure many of you have a lot of other things in your life that you're happy about, that you're proud of. So focus on those things. Go work out, go for a run, get outside, and focus on your relationships. Talk to people. Again, that's why this community is great, because if you're losing alone, which I've done for the majority of my career, losing alone, trust me, is way worse than losing with a group of people around you. And it sucks that everyone's losing in a sense, but it also makes it easier for the individual to cope with that loss. So just appreciate the good things in life. Again, trading is ultimately a small part of life, although it may seem massive at times. Just understand that it's a small part of life, and ultimately, you're probably going to make the money back. Because I've been through so many cycles like this, unfortunately, which is why I'm slowly, very slowly learning not to get greedy when times are good. But again, if you just stick with it, ultimately you will make the money back. It's going to take some time, but again, it's a long game.
Yeah,
Okay.
me and Pigeons were just talking about this right before the live started. We were talking about how, like, some people when they take losses, it's like almost they don't even want to stall it out because they feel as if they're gonna have to restart, and it's like the momentum's moving down, things are going down, but it's like, all right, well, if you took that loss, you took a 10% loss instead of a 50% loss. You have learning, you have time, you have a way to build out of what you did and learn from that. And one thing I can say is for everyone is to have a trading log. What did you learn from that? Why did you get in? Why did you get out? Be able to learn from each trade that you did, because you're not going to be able to learn that from a book, that real lifetime trade, that real lifetime thing that's going on, because that is in personal feeling, a personal moment that you're going to be able to remember forever with a few words, and being able to.
Yeah, and that's why, as you just said, a trading log, that's an amazing idea. And I did that a lot in my first few years of trading. And it teaches you a lot about trading psychology and your own psychology, more importantly, because, again, the psychological aspect of this game is arguably the most important. It's the ability to deal with your emotions and, again, learn from your mistakes. And that's why it's so good to journal and log, like you said. So it's a great thing to do, especially if anyone's just kind of starting out.
Exactly, and you'll start eventually cutting your losses way quicker than you'd ever think. You'd realize, well, like, wow, I can buy this back in later, like, without a problem. Like, why don't I just buy this back in when it's down 25% instead of hold it and wait for it later when I can build up a small amount of portion of my profits and be able to add to it. And so small things
Definitely.
like this just build onto each other. And one thing I wanted to add was with that altcoin thing, the Soso, they added the Bitcoin dominance charts. Have you seen that, Royce?
The Bitcoin dominance chart?
Yeah.
I just featured that in my video yesterday.
Oh, you did? Okay. It's still dropping today.
Yeah, that thing's falling off an absolute cliff.
Okay.
Okay, so Dan the Layman said, do you think it's nice that you can wake up 3 to 4 hours after market open? I feel like I've made some of my dumbest trades when I was too focused on the minute-to-minute movement when I could have just walked away for an hour and not have had the urge to make a trade.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of like the pros and cons of living in Hawaii, I guess, is we're 6 hours behind East Coast. So the market's right now open at 4, and I refuse to wake up at 4 just for quality of life purposes. But I also have never, like, I spent months of my life when I first started trading, primarily because when everyone starts trading, everyone thinks they need to play market open and trade market open because that's what cool day traders do. But I found no point in that, especially because a lot of times the most skilled day traders are going to be trading market open, so you're playing against like the big dogs if you do trade that time. And then just watching the market every day for so long, that's the primary reason I do trade. What is it, like two to 2.5 hours prior to close? Is because there's always more often than not, there is always a significant move in one direction or the other around that time. So that's, and especially swinging, because I swing trade, I don't day trade. I'm establishing positions for a fair amount of time. That is when I will choose to kind of restructure my portfolio. So it is a benefit, and again, I've really never seen a point to just trading the open personally.
Okay, so Mohi asked, what are your thoughts on Seawork? Are you expecting it to pull back more?
It looks... So Seaworks in a place right now to where it could bottom out at any point and just create a lower high. But it also, just from a technical perspective, because a lot of trend lines have been broken, like maybe we see a bounce, but ultimately I do think that it probably will come down to test the overall line of support, which would take us to around 150-ish. That's what it looks like. But like from a technical perspective, that's what I would say is going to happen. But again, if things start ripping, if the crypto sector starts ripping again, and it's honestly looking pretty rough right now, I think we're probably coming down, but optimistically, I do think we could set a higher low at any point in time.
And what are your short and midterm targets for the King and Queen? And I believe they're talking about Mara and Riot for that one.
That is correct. So Riot, if Riot breaks, I'll say if Riot breaks 40 pretty much, I think we're probably coming down to 35. If it breaks above, if we can break 50, then I think we're back to the races. If we break below 40, then it's not looking good. So it's very like we could be playing out a bull flag too. Again, we're still kind of in a big bull flaggy pattern. Riot unfortunately broke a pretty significant line of resistance on that symmetrical wedge, but it is still looking like it could be printing like a descending triangle following that parabolic breakout, which we've seen Riot do a lot in the past. So it's completely dependent on whether Bitcoin rips up to 80K or not. If Bitcoin rallies to 80K, then I think Riot will ultimately rally up. If Bitcoin has a slow next couple weeks, then it's looking like Riot is probably gonna take a dip, and I would guess 35 is. If we do break 40, I think 35 is almost inevitable. Like 33 to 35.
So I'm looking for more questions. So if you want to go ahead and say anything, Chandy, you're good.
Let's do some closing thoughts, I guess.
Yeah, I heard you talking about the Ethereum versus Bitcoin, and I was wondering if you used relative strength to measure those, because I actually looked at the relative strength between BNB and Bitcoin today, and between Ethereum and Bitcoin, it's pretty solid. But I like,
in terms of like like on the chart, like BTC ETH on the charts, like the pairing charts.
Yeah, so I will like, you know how you use relative strength for like, say like the SPY when you're comparing a stock to the SPY for overall relative strength to the market.
Yeah.
I've recently started doing that to Bitcoin, and so just same thing as the market, same exact concept. And so is that what you mean exactly, or did you mean like the purchasing scale?
In terms of like BTC versus ETH, how I think about them.
Well,
I don't
like
really, the thing, because I don't really trade Bitcoin and Ether. I just kind of accumulate them, so I really don't pay much attention to, especially in Bitcoin. Like if you're talking BTC versus ETH, like BTC ETH, I don't really pay attention to that chart at all personally. But yeah, it's pretty much because Ether is the king of the alts. It's always going to kind of lead the altcoin. So it's pretty much like I primarily do look at the BTC dominance chart to determine whether I will be more bullish on Bitcoin or altcoins at that point. And yeah, because the BTC, I mean, it's tough to say right now because it's been falling off such a cliff. I do think that there will, and just looking at the charts right now, like a lot of alts are starting to dip a little bit. Yeah, the market's a tough read right now, man.
Yeah, I was I just sent the chart I was talking about, because I don't know if you know exactly what I'm talking about. Where I sent it in the charts, but I'm trying to get.
You sent it in charting and setups.
Okay, I'll check it out. Where is that?
So the orange line is the line of BTC.
Okay. Oh, I see what you're talking about. So just like an overlaid chart.
Yeah.
Yeah, geez, BNB is. It's crazy to see what BNB's done.
Yeah, I wanna send the Ethereum one right now. Just only open my trading platform. Because compared to the Ethereum versus Bitcoin, it's actually kind of insane. If you realize like, wow, BNB's like, because I'm trying to compare it to other things. Like I saw versus EOS and Tron, the TRX, both of those that you were recommending were both pretty solid, and so that's why I was like, you can put it on percentage points, just like you were talking about, like how you think Ethereum's gonna double almost versus Bitcoin in a matter of time quicker, you know. Oh, here it is.
Yeah, and again, the thing because again, Bitcoin, although its dominance is falling, Bitcoin still consumes with a $1 trillion+ market cap. The total crypto market cap is just above 2 trillion. So Bitcoin still dominates just in that single asset, 50% of the entire market if you're weighting it on market cap. So it's a lot more difficult for Bitcoin to see move. Yeah, exactly. In terms of percentage gain, it's literally just because it's such a massive asset. It's a lot harder for Bitcoin to actually scale. But altcoins, if you're talking like EOS and Tron, again, just before this rally, we're at like $2-3 billion valuations, which is what, like 0.02% of what Bitcoin is. So it's like, or 0.2% of what Bitcoin is. So yeah, it's just with so many individuals in the market chasing gains. I think that's like the primary factor in why altcoins are ripping, because people are beginning to understand that you're not going to 2x your money with Bitcoin right now, or at least it's way less likely than if you were to play like an altcoin or something. So
exactly, it's a game of percentages, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's looking for the 2, 3, 5x. So that's why I think that's why altcoins are definitely having their moment, and may continue to have their moment, because that's part of the market that will never change, especially with so much especially right now with so much retail still in the market. People want to multiply their capital, which is completely understandable, but again, that's why it's kind of tough. That's why the market, that's another thing that makes the market kind of tough to read right now, is because there's so much like psychology and emotion involved with everything. So it's definitely something that needs to be continually mindful of.
Okay, so if you want to go ahead and give any closing thoughts, you can go ahead, because I know you got to go at 4:15, is it?
Yeah. So I got to balance in about 10 minutes. But yeah, I'll just give some closing thoughts now. I think we covered a decent amount there. Again, we'll try to work it out so we can do on Sundays or Fridays. Again, try to do this every Friday because I like this, and more likely than not, we will start to do these after market close. I just forgot I had to go get my truck, all like the oil changed and tires rotated, which kind of sucks that it was today, but I have to do that. So from here on, when we do these Friday kind of Q&As and stuff, it will be after market close, because it can be kind of hectic in these last 30 minutes. So we will, moving forward, likely do these just like right after market close. And then, yeah, guys, it was a rough week, and it does suck. But as we were talking about earlier, like, there's a lot more to life than trading. Again, just view everything as a learning experience. Like Chandy was saying, like, the trading log is super important. So just don't dwell on the losses, but be very mindful of them, and be mindful of how you feel, because that will be less likely it'll be less likely that you replicate this if you feel the pain. And sometimes feeling the pain is good. So feel the pain, do not dwell on the pain. Again, get outside, have a great weekend. And yeah, I think we'll close it out there.
All right, we appreciate
Hopefully
it,
next
Royce.
week is good. This yeah, of course. And this weekend, going into next week is pretty much going to be the pivot point as to if we will start kind of this more medium-term correction, or if we will continue to rip. So next week will be very telling. It could be pretty bad. But hey, we'll see. Regardless, keep your heads up.
We'll do our best. And I know they're over there frustrating in general. Like they're getting, like, you know, all mad at each other, but you know they'll do good. Yeah. We've got it under control.
It's good to vent sometimes. So again, that's kind of having community comes with its ups and downs. Like the Green Days obviously are awesome, but yeah, it's a test of character, and ultimately it does build resilience and strength. So this will pay off in the long run. It's hard to think that way now, but that's almost how you have to think.
So will you be here tonight at 8?
Yeah, I'll try to hop on in a few hours. I'll definitely hop on at some point. I'll do my best to at least, I'll hop in at 8 and at least let you guys know if I'm able to hop on now or if I have to do it in an hour or something. But yeah, I got to go run some errands right now. That's in 4 hours. I think I can hop on in a few hours just to kind of see what's going on and keep an eye on BTC and stuff. Because right now BTC is looking, just as we close out, it does look like Bitcoin looks like it could just be printing. It could just be printing a higher low right now. So let's hope that plays out, and I will hop on in a few hours to see if that did or not.
All right, well, we'll see you then, Royce.
Thank
All right,
you,
boys.
Royce. I appreciate it.
Of course, always. No, I appreciate you boys. All right, talk to you guys soon.